My name is Marnie Walsh, and I'm the Empowerment Coordinator with American Promise. While there will be several different training and support teams, the purpose of this friend banking series is one, to inspire you about the importance of bringing new people into American Promise, to join in fulfilling our mission to win the 28th Amendment. Two, to help you be a more confident, enthusiastic spokesperson for our work. And three, to provide a structure of ongoing support to assist you in succeeding. Let me repeat that. The purpose of this friend banking series is one, to inspire you about the importance of bringing new people into American Promise, to join in fulfilling our mission to win the 28th Amendment. Two, to help you be a more confident and enthusiastic spokesperson for our work. And three, to provide a structure of support and ongoing teams to help you succeeding. So tonight's training and team that will continue on this topic is one of 5 training series and ongoing teams of support. The trainings and ongoing teams of support will include topics like these. This friend banking team will eventually include topics like writing and telling your story of self, learning the laser talk, friend banking, and other forms of personal outreach. We won't just learn these trainings, we'll have a team that meets once a month to support each other in succeeding them. Another training and ongoing team will focus on writing letters to the editor and having them published and other media work. Ann Drum will co-lead the writing letters to the editor team. We're looking for another volunteer to join Ann and being trained by Sam Bailey Harris to co-lead the letters to the editor team. Thank you, Ann, for stepping up and being the team leader. I'll describe the other trainings, but I want to make it clear that we're not just talking about a one-time training and then goodbye, but starting with a training and then having a team of folks who will meet once a month, led by a trained volunteer, to support each other and taking action within that area. I'm excited to let you know that Vicki Barnes and Ashwari Solahub will co-lead the friend banking team. Thank you, Vicki and Ashwari. Another training and ongoing team will focus on meeting with elected officials, whether at the local, state, or federal level, and then having a meeting with elected officials team, meet each month to support each other and having breakthroughs in moving your elected officials up the champion scale from opposed, neutral, or supporter, all the way up to advocate, leader, and eventually champion. Marie Henselder Kimmel and Vicki Barnes will co-lead the meeting with elected officials team. Thank you, Marie and Vicki. If you lead a chapter, you might have 1 or 2 chapter members join one of these teams. Have another chapter member or 2 join another team, and so on, so they can bring new skills they are learning and ideas around ongoing support back to your chapter. Another training and ongoing team will focus on planning and hosting events with or without other organizations partnering with you. Laura Nittmeyer and Ann Drum will co-lead the planning and hosting events team. Thank you, Laura and Ann. Another training and ongoing team will focus on the use of social media. Monica Rodriguez will co-lead the social media team. Thank you, Monica. We're looking for another volunteer to co-lead the social media team with Monica. So if you're interested, please email me at marniew@americanpromise.net. Some of you have asked how these series of 5 trainings in the teams that will be created differ from the 5-part training series Azer is leading on the first Tuesday of each month. The training series Azer is leading is focused on guiding our chapters in strategic thinking as they work to get their state ready to ratify the amendment. The trainings we're starting with, this one tonight, friend banking, are focused on specific tactics, specific activities that chapters will benefit from being good at. Azers are on strategic thinking, and these are on tactics. This session tonight won't focus on writing and sharing your story of self, but in the future, the friend banking team will include writing and sharing your story of self, which answers these questions. What happened in your life, and what decisions did you make about it that got you to this point or commitment? So let me take a moment to share my story of self. Can everyone hear me okay and clearly as I Perfect.
Yeah, you're great.
Okay. So this is my story of self. Since I was a young girl, I always knew I was different. Philadelphia freedom, Elton John said. That's where I was born, but I don't feel free. My birth mother was a teenager when she got pregnant, and my father left. I am a transracial adoptee. I'm a Black girl with white parents. I don't look like my family. I knew that my family members treated my brother and me significantly different than my white cousins. I felt as if I was going through the motions and not living my life to the fullest. I hid from family and peers because I felt so disconnected from reality. High school was an interesting experience, not necessarily something I'd want to go through again. Racism and privilege were often suffocating. At 16, there wasn't a lot to do in rural Vermont. My friends and I would drive around in a 1999 Volvo hatchback. The car smelled like old person and stale cigarettes. It was weirdly comforting. The comfort quickly left when I saw blue lights flashing and a siren wailing behind us. The police officer, white, young, short, black hair, and fit, approached the car. I was in the back seat eating my Oreo McFlurries from McDonald's, which is my favorite ice cream ever. The officer said, "This is stupid, but the light over your license plate is out." My friend Andrew, who is white, said, "Oh, okay, officer. I apologize for that." The officer said, "It's no problem, man." My heart was racing. I wanted to blend into the seats and not feel seen. The police officer and my friend were gabbing back and forth until I saw his bright LED light flash and shine in my eyes. "What are you doing?" the officer asked. "I'm just eating my ice cream," I said. The officer turned back to the driver's seat and passenger seat, looked at my two white friends and said, "I hope you two have a good night. Protect and serve." It was experiences like these that would eventually push me to major in criminology and sociology, and then working to get big money out of politics and making democracy equitable for all. I wear braids, people touch them. I go to protests, I am called lazy. I feel like I have to be white, skinny, with long blonde hair. I feel like I can't breathe. I feel like I am not good enough. I am a Black woman constantly surrounded by whiteness. I suffer from internalized racism and often imposter syndrome. Acknowledging these differences forced me to see immense amount of hate in this country. I feel suffocated living in this white world, seeing people like me being killed by police and told, "You don't matter." I am silent. These emotions drove me to make change. I placed a Black Lives Matter flag on my college campus, presented my senior thesis this summer about police brutality to the St. Albans Sheriff Department, led a Women of Color dialogue group. I see that issues I care about are stopped by the influence of money in politics. My passion to fight against racism and police brutality, and see my brother with cognitive disabilities thrive as a Black man in America is my passion. Okay, thank you. So that was my story of Shelby.
Wow.
Okay, sorry. So sharing what happened in my life and
Thanks,
decisions
Marnie.
that, sorry, go ahead.
I just said thank you.
Oh, thank you. So let me say one more thing before I get into the meat of the subject. While this training series and ongoing teams that will come out of it will focus on a number of skills and skill areas. Several of the teams, including this one on friend banking, will focus on one particular area, outreach, bringing new people in. I want to share a few examples from one of the organizations that we will take inspiration from, Citizens Climate Lobby, CCL, to demonstrate why it's so important to bring new people in. When CCL gathered for its first conference in Washington, D.C., they had 25 people attend. The next year, it was 75 people, and then 175 people, and then 300 by 2019, the year before COVID. They had 1,500 people at their conference in DC. In 2020, when they moved their conference online due to COVID-19, CCL had 4,600 people at their opening session. They grew like that because the volunteers were committed to bringing new people in through tabling, speaking, and circulating a sign-up sheet, through writing letters to the editor that let people know how to get involved, through articles that were published on their work, and more. They brought new people in the old-fashioned way, by talking to people. That's what this training is about, talking to friends, friend banking. Now we'll move to the friend banking training itself. Remember, this training will continue each month in the form of a friend banking team, a group of folks committed to bringing new people into American Promises work, and who will support each other in doing actual calls to friends each month during the friend banking team session. So here's what's going to happen. 1, I'm going to briefly talk through the call you might make to a friend. 2, I'll then demonstrate a call by doing a role play with Dr. Jessica. 3, we'll take some questions. And 4, we'll move to breakout rooms to practice your own calls. And 5, we'll come back together, take some comments and questions, and have one of you role play a call. So here's how it goes. I'm going to walk through a call. You can go to the chat and find a link of the script, which I'm going to be using right now. So I'm just going to implement that in the chat as we speak. And let me know if you were not able to access it, because I can always try and share my screen. Okay. So I just put the document in the chat. Let me know if you're able to view. Was everyone able to access that? No?
Oh,
It's saying we need an access request. Might want to share your screen.
Yeah. Let me. Okay, I'm gonna try it one more time. I just sent it in again.
Got it.
Can people get it? Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. All right, so here we go. The call itself. Is everyone on the document before I continue?
no,
Okay.
I'm not.
Okay, I'll give you
And
a
Can you access it, Sandy?
well, when I got, it gives me links to go to.
Yeah, so in the chat, you're gonna click the second link that I sent, and that's the document. So it should pop up
I have Google.
and it will say friend banking script.
Yeah, got it.
You got it? Okay, awesome. All right, so the call itself, you're going to want to do more listening than you might expect, and it could go something like this. So I'm going to use my friend as example. Hi, Veronica, this is Marnie. Do you have a moment to talk? Yes, hi. How are you doing? So when your friend's speaking, listen to how they're doing. You. As I think you know, in my case, I'd say, I've been working with a group that's fired up about getting money out of politics called American Promise. Our mission is to unite Americans behind the goal of amending the US Constitution so we can finally eliminate big money from our political campaigns. I'm calling you and a few other friends who I think care most about the difference each of us can make. I wondered what your thoughts might have been about staying engaged now that the election is over. Is this something you're already doing or something you've thought about? Your friend. Listen to your friend and see some possible responses. They might say they're already involved in something. If so, ask them to tell you about it. They might say they've thought about staying involved, but it seems pretty hopeless. If they do, you can ask questions like these. Can you say more about that? Or why do you think that is? You can also share an experience you've had that's shown that it's not all hopeless. You might ask a question about American Promise. If they do, answer that. I wonder if you've given much thought about how pervasive big money in our elections. Do you know that $14 billion was spent in the 2020 election cycle? More than double what was spent in 2016. How do you feel about that? Is there some issue you care about that seems to get nowhere because big money lobbying stops it? Again, listen to your friend. If they say something like, I'm not sure about how money affects anything, you could ask if issues like gun safety or climate change or the cost of healthcare are issues that they care about, and whether they see how money in action can stop it. Your friend, what can I do? Or you could ask if they'd be interested in hearing some things they could do. There are two easy but important things you can do to get more involved. And I'm going to send you a link that outlines some of these things you can do, and we'll walk through it together. So I'm going to put the link that I'm explaining right now in the chat so people can have a visual. And this has just been updated on the website.
Gosh.
Were people able to see that? Okay, so
Yeah.
this is the Citizens Pledge form. So if your friend asks what the Citizens Pledge is, you'll walk them through and read it, which says, I join the overwhelming majority of Americans to demand an amendment to the United States Constitution to end the domination of big money in politics and give a voice to all Americans. I will stand with all Americans without regard to a party or other differences and urge all candidates and elected officials to do the same in order to pass and ratify such a constitutional amendment as soon as possible. And if your friend asks, how can I do that? You'll explain, to sign this pledge, you'll write your first name, your last name, your state, your zip code, the email, your phone number. And then the question you're going to ask your friend to fill that out that says, if you had the outsized dominant voice that the wealthy special interests have, what issue or issues would you ask your elected officials to address? And then your friend can type that in the box, and they have 1,999 characters to do so. And then grow your impact. Providing your full address ensures your elected officials know where to stand. And your friend would then fill out their street in their city. And if they're comfortable, they can choose to identify how they vote. And the second option you can do when you're calling your friend is you can ask them to sign up for the American Promise mailing list, and which is also on the pledge form, which you're able to either pre-check or you don't have to check it, but that also gives them information about what is occurring in American Promise. And third, if you'd like to get more involved, you could check the box that says, I'm interested in volunteering, and we'll get back to you with options like joining a chapter, if there's one near you, or joining into our training sessions on Zoom. If you're interested in checking out one of the trainings, I come along with you to the session you pick. And then when you end the call, it's great. It's been so great to talk to you. Thank you for your willingness to get involved. So now that we've talked through the call, I'll demonstrate it by doing a role play with Dr. Jessica. So I'll tell you a little bit about the person I'm calling. So I'm calling my friend Veronica. I've known her since kindergarten, so that's 16 years. Yep, 16 years. When it comes to civic action, she cares about visibility for people of color. She's biracial, and she identifies as Filipino and white. She also cares about reducing any she cares about reducing any inequalities within the healthcare system. So she's a big proponent on healthcare for all. Okay. So now this is the role play call. Here we go. Ring, 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 ring.
Hello.
Hey, Ronnie, how are you?
Hey, I'm doing well, Marnie. How about yourself?
I'm good. I'm good. Sorry I haven't talked to you in a while.
Oh, no, it's fine. I know things are, I'm busy, you're busy. We both have new jobs, Life is life, girl. What's going
Right.
on?
So I'm just calling to tell you a little bit about the position I started and the organization I'm working for. We haven't really talked about it. But our mission is to
Yeah.
unite Americans behind the goal of amending the US Constitution so we can finally eliminate big money from our political campaigns. I'm calling you and our friend Olivia, who I think care about making the difference. I wonder what your thoughts might be and how you've been staying engaged after this election's over. Is this something you've already been doing or something you've thought about?
Well, to be honest with you, Marty, I haven't really thought much about it. You know that I'm a very big advocate for healthcare for all Americans. And I've always been, wanting to know what your new job entails. And, I know you mentioned something about, getting money out of politics, but I wasn't too sure, what it was about. So I just didn't really give it more thought. So, I love to hear, you talk to me about it because, I have some time tonight. So, we can chat about it.
Great. Well, I'll start with a crazy statistic that blew my mind. But did you know that $14 billion was spent in the 2020 election cycle? More than double what was spent in 2016. How does that make you feel?
Ooh, 14 billion was just spent in this most recent election.
2020, yep.
Oh, wow. That just goes to show how corrupt our system is. Because if we have $14 billion to spend in the election, but yet we have people out here with no health insurance who can't get adequate health care, and, people that are in student loan debt who can't get out of it and, thrive in their lives. I mean, that's very disturbing to hear that we spent that amount of, that much money in one election. That's ridiculous.
hmm But Veronica,
But I'm not Marnie, I'm not really sure how money affects anything, but I do know that money has, like money is the root to all evil in my eyes. So, money has a lot to do with everything. And like I said, I'm very big on healthcare, and just, just the fact that we spent that much money on an election is ridiculous.
right. And did you know that there are two things that you can do to get your voice heard and stop the issue of big money in politics? Can I share those with you?
Girl, you can share it with me, but I don't really believe that our voices are heard. So I'm very interested to see what you're going to say to me right now.
Okay. Well, your voice is always heard. So, but the first thing, and this is a way that you can truly get your voice heard because it's by signing something. I'll explain it to you. So it's a citizen's pledge.
Mm-hmm.
And the statement of the citizen's pledge says, I join the overwhelming majority of Americans to demand an amendment to the United States Constitution to end the domination of big money in politics and give a voice to all Americans. So your voice is included in that. I will stand with all Americans without regard to party or other differences and urge all candidates and elected officials to do the same in order to pass and ratify such a constitutional amendment as soon as possible. So if you would like, you can sign this pledge. You can insert your first name, your last name, your state of residency, your email, and your zip code. And since you're so passionate about healthcare for all, you're able to explain why you're passionate about that and something that you would like to address to your elected officials. What do you think about that?
So is that anything that I have to print out and like mail to some, mail somewhere, or can I do it online and
Nope.
like,
So
read it?
after our call, I can text you the link, which is right, it's right on American Promise's website. And you could
Mhm.
even fill it out on your phone or your computer. And once you fill out all the boxes, you can either email saying that you're interested in volunteering, or
Mhm.
if you're not ready for volunteering, you can be emailed about progress and actions that are happening in Vermont.
Okay.
Yeah,
And so you will send me the link to that tonight?
yes, I can.
Okay. But you mentioned that you mentioned there was a second option. What's is that a volunteer that, you were referring to, where I can
Yep,
volunteer?
yep, you could volunteer.
So I'll be volunteering to do what, or to do?
So you don't have to volunteer,
Mhm.
but if you would like to volunteer, there would be a chapter leader in
Mhm.
Vermont that I could pass. So I could do a formal introduction, introduce you and the chapter leader, and then I will explain. You can either I can explain or you can explain some of the issues you're passionate about and how you want to get involved in passing this 28th Amendment.
Okay. Okay. Well, that's, definitely something that I, would be interested in learning more about. And whenever you send me the link, I'll go on you all's website and read it and check it out. And if it, appears to be something that I would like to do, then I'll, definitely sign the citizen's pledge for you.
Great. Thank you so much, Veronica. It's been so great talking with you.
Yeah, we have to catch up and go out for a drink sometimes, girl.
Absolutely.
All
All right.
right. Talk to you later.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.
All right. Thanks, Vicky. Okay. So now that you've heard me do the practice call, let's take some questions or comments. Was there something you especially liked about it? Was there something that wasn't clear? Who has a question or comment? And you can either just go ahead and start talking or use the little hand raise button, whatever you prefer.
I have a comment. This is Ishwari in New Mexico. You guys did a great job. Thanks. It was
Thank you.
fun to hear you having your conversation. I have to admit, personally, the idea of calling a friend, I generally keep my sort of political work in my personal life kind of separate. I have this idea I don't want to bug my friends with, politics, because a lot of them aren't really that into it. So the way the script is written, it seems like it kind of launches right into this, hi, here's the thing I want you to do. And
Mhm.
I'm kind of thinking for myself, I'm hoping to get some kind of help in terms of how to ease into it, a little more. I guess I would think something like I would maybe ask my friend, so are you, do you remember that I've talked about some of the work I've done? Is, can I tell you something about it? Are you interested, in hearing about that? Because I kind of want to share with you, but I don't want to overwhelm you. I don't know. I just feel like I need to soft pedal into the call. I don't know if you have any comments about that.
I think it's best to, I guess, like start off like how you normally would have a conversation with your friend and just have that like layer of, I guess you can kind of get a read on it. If your friend is ready to have like a conversation about politics, like you can kind of tell either if you're on FaceTime or just on a regular phone call, like getting the sense of like how they're feeling to a certain degree. And then like I would say just to start implementing issues that you know that they're passionate about, them being like, oh, did you know that big money in politics affects X, Y, and Z? And then I think that gets their wheels turning. They're like, oh, wow, like I didn't really think about that. Because I did practice this call on my friend Veronica. And it was a little bit more like how we normally talk to each other, like as friends. And then we're just having that conversation. So I just like make it more informal and a conversation.
I think too, this is Vicky from Minnesota. I think that I tend to not see this as political. I know it is because we have to solve it through a political process, but I see it as an American issue. So I think if we could kind of frame that in our minds that this is an American issue affecting our democracy or our democratic republic or whatever you want to call it, and not hesitate because it might be a political thing, because we know that the majority of Americans want it. It's just not reflected in our legislatures. So, so I think if you can get your mindset that it's not politics as much as an American issue, it might be for me that makes it easier for me.
Does anyone else have any other questions or comments? Nope. Okay.
Yeah, hi.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Scott.
Okay, I can, I'll even let you see my face.
Briefly.
What happened? There we go. Yeah, so, yeah, I too am a little hesitant to make cold calls to people. But how I do find out that people are interested is usually, like, one way is from my Facebook posts. And when people like a Facebook post and they have something to do with, you know, American Promise, those especially, that gives me an opportunity to then reach out to them and say, you know, hey, would you like to learn more about that? And that's what usually turns into a pretty good discussion. And recently, I had a high school friend who I know is on the Republican side of the fence, posted on my wall on Facebook I think it was a Bloomberg article about how dark money helped propel Joe Biden into the presidency. And I kind of heard her remark as being a little snarky when she said, hey, isn't this what you are always talking about? And you know, I knew she was being snarky, but I just took that as an opportunity to say, well, yes. And that's why I feel this is not a partisan issue, and it shouldn't be. This is about all of us citizens getting together and expressing our dissatisfaction about the weighing of our voices by people with money or industries with money. And so, you know, it's a slow conversation because, you know, I'm now waiting for her to respond to me, because I kind of even said in another post to her in the same line, the same thread, so are you ready to take action on this? And so I'm waiting. So I think that's probably how I will, you know, go about this. But your dialogue with you know, just now, I think gave me some, you know, other approaches and things to offer, like, you know, going to, you know, sending them the join us link and letting them explore the webpage and maybe take that as a simple first step, you know, not asking, you know, anything else. So thanks.
Great. Go ahead, Judy.
Hi. So I'm just wondering about your most, what you're looking for is to have a lot of people sign up. Are you specifically anxious for them to sign up as volunteers, or simply to be in a place where they're receiving updates and information on this issue? So they're basically citizens who are informed and aware that this is being tried. So if we ever should happen to get an amendment proposal out of Congress, or so what is your main goal here? I think getting somebody simply to sign up to find out what's happening, you know, being updated. My friends are they're all volunteering for everything. And asking them to do more to me is just really hard.
So I think it just depends on the person and depends like what they're ready for. So I know for my friend Veronica, she is interested in signing up and making headway within Vermont, but also like she's a law student, so it's been challenging to like navigate time. So because she said I don't have a lot of time, then I brought her to the other options where she can receive emails and then learn about the Zoom and training calls. And then eventually, if she has more time, she can start and either create a chapter or join one.
Okay.
When we ask them about volunteering, do we give them specific? They go, "What do you mean by volunteering? What are some things?"
So wherever your friend is, like the state they are, so on American Promise, there is a map of all of every state with each like a shading to identify if there are chapters there. So if there is already a chapter in your friend's state, then you can point them in that direction. But if there isn't a chapter, then they can be in contact with the info at American Promise, which then goes to me, and then I can start. I can either point them in the direction of the chapter or see like what type of involvement they're looking for. If there's no chapter in their state, then if they want to create one, and what that kind of looks like, and then they'd be working with myself and Dr. Jessica.
I'm from Illinois, from Chicago, and I know Illinois is one of the 20 states. But do we want to go to say Chicago? And they talked about cities and towns that have also passed amendments or resolutions.
It would be state.
Yeah, so right now it's state, like, we have state chapters, but eventually in our planning for our empowerment department, we're trying to branch off into different counties and different cities within those states so that, we can have a better representation of that state. And then also, as we, begin to get new people and have, new volunteers sign on, it's not like you live on the north side of the state and this person lives on the south side of the state. So whenever, God forbid COVID goes ahead and, allows us to meet in person again. But, whenever that happens and, you're having meetings, you'll be able to connect with someone that's in your geographic location versus, someone who lives 4 or 5 hours away from you. So, that's a little further down the road. We need to get more people and more volunteers first, but eventually we want to, broaden our horizons within the state.
It says, 20 states and over about 800 cities and towns they've also done the same thing.
Oh, like a local resolution or?
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah,
it's right in the information about American Promise and what they've accomplished so far.
That's referring to local and state, local resolutions, county resolutions, and
right.
the 20 is the non-binding state resolutions. So that could have been done. They can have been done up to 9 years ago, because in 2010 the decision was handed down and various people started working on this back in basically 2010, 2011, 2012.
Mm-hmm.
There used to be a chapter near you, Sandy, in Illinois, right outside of Chicago. Maybe I can look up, I don't know, Marnie, if you would have that information anymore. I don't see him on our meetings anymore.
Yeah, I don't see anyone in Illinois as of right now. Like a chapter.
Well, I think, in terms of your question, Sandy, about would you mention specific things people can do to volunteer? I would think, again, it would depend on the person, but absolutely, if you know of anything that they actually can do, if you're already involved in something, I haven't met you before, so I don't know if you're
I'm like 2 weeks.
Okay, yeah, because there's, you know, these team meetings that we're doing right now, the friend banking is outreach, but the other ones are actual skills that people can learn, I think, in order to do the exact thing you're asking about, like writing letters to the editor. That's one of the strong, you know, one of the main things we do. And people can jump right into that with a little bit of training and some guidance.
And how
then
do we
there's
get that information?
That's going to be one of these trainings coming
Yeah,
up.
that's upcoming.
Yep.
Yeah, so stay on the list and keep coming to these, but welcome. First of all, if you've only been involved
Okay.
for a few weeks, it's really wonderful to see you. And I'm sure that there is going to be stuff for you to do that suits you and fits you. And I really hope, you know, one of us, somebody can kind of help loop you in a way that really works for you.
Mhm. So thank you everyone for your questions, comments. We're just gonna move into the actual role play session now, which will be in breakout rooms. I put the basics for the call in the chat, which is the script. We're not calling our friend to make a speech, but to have a conversation. And the only way to get comfortable with this conversation is to practice. So it's okay if your call isn't perfect. We're just practicing. When we go into breakout rooms, introduce yourselves, decide who will go first, and the person going first can tell their partner about the person they are calling. How do you know them and how long? What would you say about their interest in activism or civic action? Is there anything else that would be useful to know? Remember, the outline of the conversation is in the chat, and you can refer back to that if you want to. We'll go into breakout rooms for 10 minutes, which means you'll each have 5 minutes each to try the call. Any last questions before I break you all off? Nope. All right, here we go. Hello, everyone.
Hi.
Okay. So now that we're back together, I want to take some questions, and I would love to have one brave volunteer role play the call. So does anyone have any questions or comments?
You're
How did
muted,
it go?
Sandy. You're on mute, Sandy.
Sorry. We can figure out how to get the
The script.
speech up, the script.
Oh.
Oh yeah, once you go
Yeah.
into breakout rooms, I think the chat disappears once you go into breakout rooms.
Yeah.
So we sort of winged it.
Well, that's perfect, because you won't
That's great.
necessarily be looking at a script when you call your friend. So that's
Bye,
awesome.
Amy.
Awesome. Hey, Amy. Any other? But did it go pretty well overall, Sandy?
Yeah, it would have helped to have that script, you know, just to go through the points to make sure but I think it went well.
Great.
Don't you, Barbara?
Yeah, I thought it did. I thought we did a pretty good job.
Awesome.
Oh, good. Now, Marnie, you will I know you want to respect everyone's time. You will circulate the script out to everyone.
Yep. I'll
Okay.
circulate the script out and then the recording of the training so everyone can look back to that as well.
All right, great.
I have a question that's not related to the role play. I had put it in the chat right before we broke out. On that page on the citizen pledge, it might be, we used to use that actually maybe back in 2017, and then it seemed like it went away for a while and it looks like it's back. It might be helpful at the top of that page to actually say, it says join us and then says I pledge. Maybe it would be helpful to say sign the citizen pledge.
Yeah.
To sort of indicate what it is.
Mhm.
And the other thing is it's asking for an address, and it says something about elected officials, but it doesn't make clear if the person, when they're signing up, puts their address in, do their comments then automatically, are they being emailed to the congressperson? What's the, I know American Promise would like to get the address, but what's the link there to having the address and the and the member of Congress? Is there one?
Yep. So I asked Leah the same question, and I'll share with you her response. And she said that the information that will be provided in meetings with legislators, the names and number of the individuals in their districts that support the amendment. It is not sent directly to legislators when it's
Okay.
filled out.
So it would be for us to then, when we have a scheduled meeting, we can
Yep.
say, we have this many people in the state that have signed our pledge and represents
Yep.
the, okay, okay,
Yep.
thank you, thank you.
Well, how do we find that and find out how many people have signed the pledge?
So I'm assuming that is something you could probably email myself, and then I could ask the comms department to see how many people have signed this pledge within your specific state.
Okay, if Illinois has done it, then what am I supposed to do? If you're from Illinois?
Can you rephrase your
We
question?
can, well, yeah, I know, Sandy, you're a fairly new, right?
Yeah,
So,
Yeah.
so yeah, we can connect with you one-on-one, offline to get you more caught up to
okay.
speed and everything. Yeah, we'll do that.
Yeah.
Is that okay?
Yeah, that's great.
Okay.
I would like to make one point about calling my friend. I think it's smart to send my friend the link and go through it line by line and have that on the call and have them check what they want to check and not check what they don't want, fill out what they want to fill out and not fill out, explain what they need explained or not explain what's very clear to them, but that when the call ends, they've filled out everything they want to fill out and they've checked everything they want to check and they're clear about it and we're complete basically. So
That's a good idea.
If that's the focus, then wouldn't we want to add into the script that, we're trying to make it clear to our legislators just how many people support getting money out of politics. We know by polls that 76% or whatever quote we're quoting at the time across the political spectrum support getting money out of politics by a constitutional amendment. But we want to have numbers to show to our lawmakers exactly what the support is in our area. So would you sign this pledge for me if you support it, which, you're gonna know by the, would you sign the pledge? And then additionally, I'd love to get you more involved in getting information or coming to join my chapter or participating in trainings, yada, yada, yada.
Great. Does
I
anyone
think that's a great idea, Marie, because that way somebody has a motivation. Well,
Mhm.
why would I sign the pledge? What's the point of signing the pledge? Well, the point is you're contributing to those numbers that are going to actually be shared. So I think that's a really good point in inviting someone to sign that citizens pledge to let them know what effect that might have, cumulatively.
It's very powerful. I mean, when we met with Nancy Pelosi's office at the last NCLC, when we mentioned we had 5,000 members in the Bay Area, it was like, okay, this is serious. We were just not 4 or 5 people that showed up one day at a conference. We were, there was a heft there that was taken very seriously right off the bat.
Great.
Thank you all. So I'm super excited about these trainings and what will become of them. So the Friend Banking team will meet on the 3rd Thursday of the month to share inspiring stories, practice making a call, go out and make some actual calls to friends, and come back and share how it went. Newcomers will be given a recording of this first session and listen to it on their own. The next training will be on writing letters to the editor and will be held on February 24th at 7:30 p.m. After that initial training, it will become the letters to the editor team. Each of these teams will be led by American Promise volunteers who will receive a training from Sam Daly Harris. Thank you all so much for coming.
7:30 Eastern time?
Yep, Eastern time. And I'll be sending out a reminder as well when it gets closer to the date. Thank you all so much.
Hey,
Thanks,
everybody.
Marnie.
Bye.
Lori,
Hi, y'all.
here's a pitch. Join the phone banking team.
Yes.
He and I can hang out with you and we can do phone banking together.
Yeah.
Bye.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.